Voting is underway right now in New Hampshire, the state holding the first primary election of the 2024 campaign cycle.
All eyes are on the Republican presidential race between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. NBC4's Conan Nolan joins us live from Derry, New Hampshire to show us exactly what's at stake today. Conan, what do you have going on this morning? A lot of people out there I see behind you.
Right, a big turnout, a big gymnasium here, and it's a sort of a super precinct. And of course, in California law, you have to be 100 feet away from the polling station in order to hold a campaign sign. Well, it's sort of like similar rules here in New Hampshire. This is the Dean Phillips, the Democrat. We'll talk about him in a second. There's, of course, the Donald Trump supporters over here. Marianne Williamson from Los Angeles, how would you call her? You would call her a spiritual leader?
I would call her, yes.
A visionary. Okay, well, very good.
The only visionary running for office.
The only visionary. So fundamental to this is tonight, at least on the Republican side, is the answer to the question as to whether or not it's over, whether or not this continues. We understand that every poll has Donald Trump with a double-digit lead over Nikki Haley, but she's hoping to be strong enough in the finish tonight that she continues on to her home state of South Carolina. If Donald Trump wins by 20 points, it could be over. Last night they had one more rally. Donald Trump's interrupted several times by protesters. Nikki Haley trying to make the point that, as she has said repeatedly, this isn't a coronation. You have to fight for the votes. She says regardless of the outcome tonight, she will stay in this race at least until South Carolina. Here's what the candidates had to say.
Had a very good competitor, Ron, as you know, Ron DeSantis. And he fought hard and he fought well, and now we have one left. We started off with, really, if you add some Democrats into it, we started off with 13, and now we're down to 2 people. And I think one person will be gone probably tomorrow.
But let's look at what your options are as you go to vote tomorrow. This really is an option. Do you want more of the same? Or do you want to go forward? 70% of Americans have said they don't want a Trump-Biden rematch. The majority of Americans disapprove of both Biden and Trump.
Once again, Nikki Haley has been stepping up the attacks. She soft-pedaled them earlier in the campaign. Most recently, she's been talking about, for example, Donald Trump's mental acuity because of an incident last week where he, instead of referring to Nancy Pelosi, he referred to her on multiple occasions. In any case, she does well with independent voters in this state. They're allowed to vote in the Republican primary, and there are more registered independents than there are registered Republicans. But when it comes to the Republican base, it's Donald Trump who has most of the popularity by far, and that's the problem for her. If she's going to win any state, it's going to be New Hampshire. If she doesn't win here, it's going to be tough elsewhere. Reporting live from Derry, New Hampshire. Back to you.
And Conan, it's not just the Republican primary taking place there. Democrats are holding their own primary, but President Biden is not on the ballot. Can you talk to us about why and the impact that this would have in New Hampshire and nationwide?
Well, it's interesting you point that out. We just met the guy who's could potentially embarrass the president a moment ago, Dean Phillips. So here's what happened very quickly. Democratic Party said we don't want New Hampshire to be the first primary anymore. It's too white, too rural, not big enough. So we want it to be South Carolina. Plus, remember, 4 years ago, Joe Biden finished 5th here. So it's not a big state for him. But under the state constitution of New Hampshire, they have to be the first primary. It's in their constitution. So they said, we're going to have a Democratic primary anyhow. Now, the Democratic National Committee said no Democrats should run in this race. And so Joe Biden said, I won't be on the ballot. But then Dean Phillips, this congressman from his friends over here, the congressman from Minnesota, said, listen, Joe Biden is too old. He's going to lose to Donald Trump, so he's running. And there's a potential for him to embarrass the president. They're not going to get any delegates from this today, but he could potentially embarrass the president by winning the Democratic primary, which is why the Democratic Party here in the state is running a write-in campaign for Joe Biden. So that's some of the drama here today. That could be a surprise later tonight.
Wow, super interesting. Conan Nolan, thank you so much for your live report from New Hampshire.